Hi everyone, my name is Amanda and this is Rainy Books with Amanda. This is my second book review for YouTube. I have been doing book reviews since for 3 years now. I'll link my blog below in the description. It is Rainy Days with Amanda. I do mainly book reviews, but I also write some other stuff as well. Just kind of, I call it rainy thoughts, and it's just stuff that I'm thinking about, stuff that's on my mind that I just want to write about. But yeah, you can find all my old and past book reviews there in case you're interested. I'll also link below Lonestar Literary that I review books for. I don't always, not all my book reviews are for Lonestar Literary, but some of them are. So the book that I'm reviewing today, The Storms of Malhado, all my opinions are my own. They do not force me to give 5 stars to any writers. They are a great organization. I talked a little bit about them in my first video, but they basically help Texas authors. So any Texas author can go and go on to the Lonestar Literary Life website, and they can sign up to do blog tours and other marketing materials with Lonestar. And so they are just a great resource, and you can also just subscribe to their newsletter. They have great resources on book events happening, new authors coming out, new reviews, and just great stuff happening in the literary and especially Texas literary world. So I'll link their website down below in the description. But today we are reviewing The Storms of Malhado by Maria Elena Sandovici. A little bit about Maria. She is a full-time author, artist, and gallery owner who lives in Houston. She originally she was living in New York, and she just brought her down to Texas. And when she was in Texas, she got really interested in Galveston, and she did live in Galveston for 3 years until her artistic ventures took her back to Houston area. And so The Storms of Malhado, Malhado is actually Galveston Island in Texas. It's just an older name that was used. So a little bit about the book. I'll kind of read the back and then go from there. So the description on the back is, Katie doesn't believe in ghosts, and she certainly doesn't believe the rumors that her family's home is haunted despite its tragic history. 2 young women who lived there in different eras died in hurricanes, one during Hurricane Carla in 1961, one during the Great Storm of 1900, the greatest natural disaster to befall the United States. But that was the past. A fact Katie reminds herself of when she returns to Galveston to await Hurricane Ike in 2008 with her parents and boyfriend in her family's Broadway mansion, hoping to rekindle her failing relationship. While Katie is not afraid of the ghost stories she's heard, she is afraid of the monster storm approaching. As even die-hard islanders evacuate, her fears grow. Fear of the looming hurricane. Fear that she's talentless as a painter. Fear that her relationship with her boyfriend is already over. As Katie struggles against her fears, the past whispers to her of the women who died there and the haunting similarities they share with Katie's own life. Through 3 different timelines, Storms of Malhado weaves a story of Galveston's past, underscoring its danger and isolation, as well as its remarkable resilience, its capacity for both nostalgia and reinvention. Full of contradictions, at once insular and open to the world, Galveston Island is as much a character of the novel as Katie, Susan, Betty, their loves, and their confidants. So that's a little bit about the book. Katie The book starts off with Katie. It's in the middle, it's 2008, and it's in the middle of Hurricane Ike, and she lives in this huge mansion, and she's there with her parents and her not so great boyfriend, and then that's how the first chapter starts. You're introduced, and then the second is you're introduced to kind of like a reincarnation. So Katie is a reincarnation of two other people during the two other storms. So there's 3 different timelines going on. So there's Katie's timeline, which is 2008, and then there's Betty's timeline, which is in 1961, and then there's Susan's timeline in 1900. And so they're all essentially the same person, but they all have different characteristics, which is the first I want to point out in my review. You're following these 3 different people, and they're essentially reincarnations of each other, but they're not exactly the same. While they do have some characteristics that are the same, such as they all like to paint. Women love a guy who's not that good to them, and all 3 women kind of have a great relationship with a motherly figure in their life. And so this idea of reincarnation, it's easy to think that it's the same person over and over again, but in Maria's book, they're not exactly the same person. They all have their different characteristic traits. I think that it was brilliantly written. And there's some other characters that are reincarnated as well, but again, they don't look the same, and they all have their own kind of personality, and some of them are a little bit stronger than others. So it was just really interesting to see just how the author writes each character and how each one is portrayed. And I just really enjoyed that aspect about this book, because it can be easy to just make them the same. And so with the 3 different timelines, the author did a great job at transitioning to each timeline. So I've read some books where they're going through the different timelines, and it's really choppy. So it's just like abrupt stop, next timeline, abrupt stop, we go back, and it's not really that fun to read. But the author does a great job at transitioning to different timelines. It just all makes sense in the long run, where she stops and where she picks up on the next timeline, how long each timeline gets a chapter. So it was really thought out, well planned, well written. So I didn't mind at all the time jumps, and there's 3, so that's a good challenge, and she did it well. And another aspect I really like was the imagery. The author does a great job at just characterizing Galveston Island during the 1900s, the 1960s, and 2008. I could clearly see how everything looks, how everything has changed, what the characters were wearing, how lively everything looked, how unlively everything looked. So the author just did a great job at showing us this world and making it different each timeline, which I think is another challenge, and she stood up to the challenge and she did it very well. The only criticism I have of this book is just that the very end, I wasn't a big fan of how the ending was made, because in the end, Katie, and that's in 2008, she kind of realizes that she has had past lives, and I just thought it was a little bit on the corny side, but I mean, it didn't take away from the rest of the book, definitely, and that's just my own preference. I can be a bit more cynical when it comes to reading. But it didn't take away from the book at all. I still definitely recommend The Storms of Malhado. At the end of the day, I do give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was well written. It was a great book. I really got into it. I was reading it really fast, faster than I read a lot of books this year. And so it was just a really awesome read. It's not that long. It's 242 pages. I also really like the cover of this book. It's really interesting. I don't know if you can see that. It's just has like the paper artwork and paint on it, so I just think that's really cool. But yeah, that's my review on The Storms of Malhado. I'll link, like I said, I'll link my book review down below. There's also it is May 25th. Sorry, it is May 25th right now, and there is a giveaway going on. So I'll link it in the description below. Also, just link the author's website so you can go ahead and check her out directly. And yeah, if you like this review, please like and subscribe. And I plan on doing many more reviews to give, so stay tuned. And until next time, happy reading.